Hello, my dear ones. Today I will be showing you how to make these absolutely darling pixie pouches. I'll put a close up here after this. For this, you won't need any sewing machine, though if you do want to sew it with a sewing machine, if you have one, you absolutely can. But this is a craft that anybody can do with the hand stitches that I will show you. I will be showing you the running stitch, which is the most basic type of stitch, the back stitch, which is similar to the running stitch, but it anchors things down a little bit more, and then the whip stitch, which is a little bit decorative, and then it serves its own purposes as well. The items you will need for this craft are felt. You can use any color or any type of fabric, actually. I just like felt for this because it's a little sturdier and it looks cute. Any colors, we are doing an acorn today. However, if you want to make your acorns a variety of color, that is up to you, but I will be making mine with browns and tans. You will need your needle and thread. I have my cute little strawberry pincushion here to help me out. And then you will be needing your embroidery floss. Again, any color works, doesn't matter. I will be using oranges and browns for mine. So hopefully you learned something in this video. If you have any questions or comments after what I've taught you, feel free to put them in the comments. And without further ado, let's get into it.
So first, I will be showing you how to do a couple of the stitches. I will be doing them with a large needle and some embroidery floss. That way it is easier for you to see. I'll be starting with this bright yellow embroidery floss on some gray fabric. So again, much easier to see, high visibility. We'll start with the running stitch. It's a very simple stitch. I'm going to show you how to do a simple knot here. So what you do is get your finger damp and wrap it around once or twice, and then you just roll it off of your finger. I'll show you a couple times how to do that throughout this video. You just give it a little pull and a pinch, and it turns into a neat little knot. So when starting your stitches, you will always want to start from the wrong side of the fabric, which is usually the not as pretty side. If you're using something with a print, it's usually duller or it doesn't have as many colors. That way your knot is hidden on the wrong side of the fabric. So you'll come up through the wrong side, and then you'll go down through the right side. I'll go slow at the start here just so you can see. Go a little bit down the way, up through the wrong, and then back down through the right. Going up again, and then back down. Now here, I will show you in just a moment how to make this stitch a little bit quicker. Is that, especially if you have a longer needle, you can go in and out of the fabric with just the needle, like I'm doing right now. You don't pull it the whole way through, you just go with the needle. And then just like that. Careful not to poke yourself. You'll take that needle and you'll pull the rest of the needle along with all of that thread right through. And there you go. I also find this makes the stitch a little bit straighter, but I don't get too nitpicky about how straight my stitches are. And once again, I'm zigzagging through the fabric, up and down with the needle, and I pull it through. And one more time, so you can see that. This is often a decorative stitch, or if you need to patch something super quick, you just do a running stitch straight up and down through it to get it lightly put back together. Next, I will be showing you how to do a whip stitch, which is often used to bind the edges of things together. You would, again, start with your needle and thread, I've already knotted this one off. I am going through what I consider the backside of the project or the fabric with these two pieces of felt, and I am just wrapping around the edge of the fabric and then always returning the needle going through the backside of the fabric. This is one of those stitches that it is basically putting a loop around the edge of your fabric, uh, binding it off. You can use this as a finishing stitch. Some fabric frays, so you could use this to kind of help stop that fraying. It's not always the perfect solution, or you can use it to bind off little felt projects, which is what we will be doing with the pixie pouches a little bit later. It's all right if your stuff is not evenly stitched. We're having fun here. You can worry about getting it perfect as your skills grow. Just continue making those little loops around the edge, coming around to the back side of the fabric. I got a little knot here. Oop, there we go. One more time. There we go. This is what it looks like from the back. Now, I should have probably started the stitch from the inside so that the knot was hidden, but that's all right. Now we are moving on to the back stitch. There's that knot again. The back stitch is very similar to the running stitch. However, it helps to secure your fabric just a little bit more. I'm doing that on the same piece of fabric so that once I'm finished, you can see just how well it holds things together. So you're going to come up from the wrong side, go down through the right side. Now you're going to go slightly in front of where you put that stitch at. From the back. And now you're going to take your needle and put it through where that last stitch ended. This kind of helps lock in your stitches into your fabric. And now you're going to, once again, go in front of the last stitch you made. Pull your thread up through and then down through the hole of the last stitch. So rather than spaced out running stitches, this will look as if those stitches are much more closely together because they are touching. The front side of your project will look much more neat than the back side of your project. And I'll show you that once I'm finished. The back. I'm notorious for getting knots in my thread. It's all right. So long as you take your time, your thread shouldn't snap. Now back down through that last hole. Now you can do the same thing with the running stitch where you can go down through and then kind of skip ahead. You don't have to bring the thread the whole way. So down through the last hole with the needle, skip past the last stitch and pull it through. There you go. Time. Through. This also helps to kind of keep it a little bit straighter. And one more go. Now, finish that off. I'm going to go through that last one and it will kind of make a loop around the edge of the fabric. Straighten that out and there you go. I'm going to show you how I tie this off. Just go underneath, wrap it around the needle a few times, and then pull through for a very simple knot. Take that off. Now you see the back side, the back side of the fabric is a little bit goofier looking, but this will hold pretty strong if you need to make a sudden repair. Now, here is the pattern we will be using today. I'll be cutting 2 pieces each of both the top and bottom for the acorn. I will provide the pattern down in the description below. It is available on my Ko-fi shop. You can make a donation if you would like. I would really appreciate it. It would help me keep making these videos. If not, it is free because I understand that sometimes it is difficult to pay for patterns. But if you feel so inclined to donate, I would appreciate it. I am going to be layering a darker brown fabric. It's a cotton over top of the felt that I am using for the acorn cap because I do not have a dark brown felt. So I am actually going to be cutting out a total of 4 fabric pieces for the acorn cap. I am just pinning that down, making sure it stays in place. Now, these are quite small, but you can enlarge the pattern to as big of a pouch as you want. You can make it purse size, or you could leave it small, like these little pixie pouches that we're making. And as I said, you could use any type of fabric you'd like. I just like how felt looks for this first one, and it is an easy material to learn how to sew on. So I've got those brown pieces cut out. And I am going to fold my felt in half and pin down both the acorn cap and the acorn base. You fold your fabric in half so that you can cut out 2 pieces at a time, just so you don't have to keep pinning things down multiple times and cutting the same thing multiple times. Just makes the process a little bit more streamlined. You could also sketch your patterns onto the felt. Felt is a really easy material to draw on. I recommend fabric markers as they usually will either wash out or you can use heat to get the markings out after you're finished. But I like using just a paper pattern because I can store those away. I'll set that off to the side. Now I'm going to layer my brown cotton over top of my felt and pin that down. Like I said, I didn't have a darker felt, but I still wanted a dark acorn cap, so layering the cotton over top is my solution to that. I also think it'll give a nice textural difference between the cap and the base of the acorn. I'm just seeing which of these I want to use to put down this cotton. And I think I'm going to go with this shade of embroidery floss. So I'm cutting a little bit of that. I won't actually be using the whole strand of the embroidery floss, and I'll show you here in a moment how I took that apart. You can use the whole strand if you'd like. It's not a big deal if you choose to use the whole thing or split it up. Using a slightly smaller needle than what I showed you in the teaching part when I was showing you the stitches. So you can split up embroidery floss. It's usually in about 6 different strands of the thread, and you can just kind of unravel it. So I believe I'm using 3 pieces of embroidery floss here. Now I am taking my beeswax conditioner. This is also not a necessity. I just find it helps to get your thread to flow through the fabric a little bit easier. So I just run it through my beeswax a couple of times to condition it. Threading my needle. Sorry, this is off camera. And I'll show you how to do that knot again. So now what I am going to be doing is starting on the wrong side of the fabric, which will be the inside of the lid of the pouch. I am going to just be doing a basic running stitch the whole way across both sides of the acorn cap. Now, because my needle is long, I am just weaving the needle in and out of the fabric and then pulling it through, just so it goes a little bit faster. But if you need to, go through one side, pull it the whole way through, back up and pull it the whole way through, that is absolutely fine. This isn't a race, and you can take all the time that you need to finish it, we're doing this for fun. We're doing this to build basic skills, and it's all right if it takes you some time to learn those skills. Now, you don't necessarily have to put these decorative stitches on. The stitches I'm putting down are twofold. They're both decorative and they are helping hold the cotton down to the felt. If you're just doing felt, you don't have to do the decorative stitching. You could just do just enough to hold the acorn cap together and the acorn bottom together. And weaving it in and out again. Taking that pin out. And if you are new to sewing, please be careful when you are using pins. They can be very sharp. They can hurt a little bit. Make sure you get yourself a nice little pin cushion. They do sell them at the dollar store. Sometimes if you find that your needle is stuck, you can actually use your little block of beeswax conditioner to help pull it through. If you don't have that, you can also use a pair of pliers. Just be very gentle when you are gripping the needle because you can shatter them. Some of them are very brittle. Just speeding this up a little bit so that we can get through it. And coming around to the back, and I'm going to knot that off. And now we're going to do the other side of the acorn cap, the exact same thing, running stitch the whole way through. I'm going to keep this sped up so that we can get through it. I always love time-lapse videos. I think they're very satisfying to watch things come together so quickly because in reality, they don't come together as quickly as you think they do. Even something as simple as this does take time. And again, like I said, if you have to take your time doing it, that is perfectly fine. Now I keep kind of tugging at these sides here so that it doesn't get bunched up. And there we go. We have two sides of that now finished. Now we're going to put them together. Now, this is where your whip stitch will come in. So using the same color of embroidery floss, again, you can use whatever colors you want for any of this. Have fun with it. Make a purple and green acorn if you want, yellow and blue. Have fun with it. I'm sticking with the brown though, and getting my thread prepared with the conditioner, getting it knotted up. Roll it off the finger, give it a pinch, and there's your little knot. So I'm going to put these together, and I am only sewing from the tip of one side of the acorn to the bottom edge. You do not want to sew across the bottom or the top because you need to put it on like a lid. And then we will have a cord that goes up through the stem of the acorn cap. And I'll put a little diagram on the video here, just in case that's a little confusing. Pin together, and I'm going to continue whip stitching. Now I started this whip stitch from inside the acorn cap so that the knot was hidden in between the layers. And I'm just coming around and around from the back side so that it's looping around. Again, it takes a little bit of time. And you're going to stop at the top, and you don't want to go over that top edge, like I said before. And now you're going to do the same thing for the other side of the acorn cap. This would make a fun fall craft for really just about any age. I plan on using mine at the Renaissance Festival. It's perfect for holding all of my little trinkets. But you might want to use it for some fall festivities. I know some Thanksgiving is coming up for some people, autumn harvest, some other holidays. And they would be a nice little craft to teach, friends and family how to sew. Super simple. And you walk away with something that you can use, be it for little trinkets, or if you want to keep a little bit of money in there, or, just to hang around. You could make a garland out of them. I think that'd be really cute. Here I am struggling to get the embroidery floss taken apart. So now that we have completed the acorn cap, we are going to complete the base. I'm just conditioning my thread here again. I'm using a slightly different embroidery floss color. It's more of a yellowed kind of color, orangey yellow. Struggling to get that threaded. Go. And wrap it around finger, make a little knot. Now I'm drawing some lines there to help give me a guideline. I used a pencil, although I don't follow my example there. You probably should be using a fabric marker or some sort of marking implement. They have markers, pencils that are meant for marking fabric that, again, can go away with either water or heat. But if all you have is a pencil, that is perfectly fine. And I am just doing another running stitch to add a little more texture to the acorn base. And I'm going to crisscross that texture. And this part does take a little while. And again, if you don't want to add the texture, that is totally fine. You could also string up beads or sequins while you're doing these running stitches. You would just thread your needle through them as you were on the right side of the fabric and pull it through, and then go down through that side of the fabric again, and it would tack it down to the front. You also don't have to do a crisscross pattern. You can do any type of pattern that you want. I just figured this would be a simple one to show off. I'll speed this up a little bit so that we can get through it. And again, you'll want to make sure that you're not tugging too hard on your thread because it can bunch up the fabric. And if that happens, just kind of pull at the edges very gently and it'll kind of even itself out. And now I'm going the other direction to give it that cross-hatched pattern. Now I will say, as I was working on this, I did notice the pencil marks were kind of fading away, so pencil wasn't the worst choice here, but it wasn't the best. So again, it's up to you, and if all you have is a pencil, that is totally fine. And you're going to do the same thing for the other one, which I have done already so that we save some time. And now you are going to go around the whole U shape of the acorn with a whip stitch to keep them together. You're going to sandwich them together and do a whip stitch around the whole thing. Just putting some pins down to keep that together. You do not necessarily need sewing pins. You can also use straight pins, magnets. I've used a magnet on both sides before to help keep fabric together. Or if you think you can hold it together with your hands, that's fine. Like I said, just take a whip stitch the whole way around to create that little pocket. I'm using the same color of embroidery floss here as I did for the cross-hatching marks. I'm realizing now I actually didn't use my strawberry pincushion. I'm using my teacup pincushion. I will at some point show you a tutorial on how to make both of those because they are both very cute. I probably have more pincushions than I actually need to have, but they're all just cute. I can't help it. I'm just reinforcing one of the edges here that I felt didn't quite have enough stitches around it. And then I think I decided after that I was just going to go the rest of the way around. So I went around it in one direction, and now I am whip stitching back in the other direction to reinforce that seam. Again, not something you have to do, but if you happen to have the extra thread on your needle and you want to give it a little bit of support, then you absolutely can. All of the materials here you can find at the dollar store. Felt, different fabrics. They do have sewing needles, pins, and embroidery floss. I don't believe they have beeswax, but I do sell the little beeswax conditioners in my Ko-fi shop. I have a couple different shapes. Some look like roses, some look like skulls. I figured I'd do a couple of the skulls in the beeswax because it's almost spooky season, so. And we're coming around the final stretch, and we're almost there at the end of this. My thread is getting rather short here, but that's okay. And now I'm going to knot that off. I'm going to try to put the knot to the inside of the acorn. I'm sorry that I'm a little off camera. Hopefully. So what you do is you just go to the inside fold of the acorn and you make the knot, pull it tight. That way it's not as visible. Making sure that it fits. And there we go. Now we're going to add the lanyard or necklace. You can wear it any way that you want, on your belt, on your neck. So what I'm doing here is I am attaching the end of the string to the inside of the acorn so that I am hiding the threads inside the acorn. Hiding the knots, I should say. I'm going through the cord here a couple times just so that it's nice and sturdy and stays. This is just a simple braid done with embroidery floss. In one of my future videos, I do want to show you a couple different ways of how to make different types of cords. There is French braiding. There is using a lucette fork. Simple, regular old braiding. French knitting is another thing as well. But if all you have is the regular embroidery floss, you don't know how to knit, or pardon me, you don't know how to braid, you can just use regular embroidery floss. That's totally all right. Any other type of thread or string that you want to use to, keep your pouch in place. And now that I have that attached, what I'm doing is I'm threading up one of my larger needles so that I can tie that to the center of this cord. You don't have to do any fancy knots for this. Just pinching them together and doing whatever works. And now I'm taking the back end of my needle and threading it up through the acorn so that I don't accidentally stab through it. And then you pull your cord up through, snip off that thread. And there you are. You've got your perfect little pixie pouch. And here I'm just making sure that the cord is evenly pulled up through the top of the acorn cap. That way it sits evenly on top of the acorn base. And there we go. Perfect for all your little trinkets. And here are some of my little trinkets that I'm keeping in here. Some pirate treasure, some Monopoly pieces, gems, a key. all the fun little trinkets, or crow confetti, as I've been calling it.
All right, my dear crafters, I hope you had a good time learning how to make these cute little acorn pixie pouches. I went a little overboard after I finished that first one, and I ended up making a couple more in a variety of colors. I used upholstery material. I used some silky kind of material as well. These ones I did with my sewing machine, which I can show a quicker tutorial at some point on how to do that. I haven't decorated them with any beads or anything yet. I think I want to add some sequins to some of these, some beads, maybe some trim. Once they are finished, I will be putting these ones up in my shop. I think I'll be hanging on to this one for myself because I really like it. I think it'll go good with some of my garb. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to put them in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you later, my little crafters. Have a wonderful day. I love you.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and checking out my link tree in the bio. I have a TikTok, a Ko-fi, and Facebook page, as well as an Instagram, and it would mean so much to me if you checked those out. Thank you.